The alien fleet commander stood nearly 8 feet tall, with broader shoulders and more elaborate markings on its carapace than the scouts Marcus had encountered earlier. Its mandibles clicked rapidly as it spoke in its native language, issuing what sounded like urgent orders to the crew around the command center, but its large, multifaceted eyes never left Marcus. "You," the commander said finally, switching to heavily accented English. "You are the one who defeated our scouts." "I'd prefer to think of it as a misunderstanding," Marcus replied, keeping his weapon lowered but ready. Behind him, Williams and the other volunteers had positioned themselves to cover the room's exits. "One that we can resolve without more bloodshed." The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "You board my flagship with 7 humans against a crew of 300, and you speak of resolving misunderstandings?" Marcus glanced at the tactical displays surrounding the command center. The battle was going exactly as he'd predicted. The alien ships were overwhelming the station's defenses, but they were taking longer than expected. The patrol boat distractions had worked, forcing the fleet to split their attention. "Your scouts told me something interesting," Marcus said, walking calmly toward the center of the room. The alien crew members stepped back, but their weapons remained holstered. They seemed more curious than threatened. "They said you were expecting easy prey? Your settlements have offered little resistance so far? Because you haven't encountered the right humans." Yet, the commander's head tilted in what Marcus was learning to recognize as alien skepticism. "You believe you are different from your fellow humans?" "No," Marcus said quietly. "I believe all humans are different from what you expect." He activated a small device from his belt, a standard communicator, but one that had been modified with some very non-standard additions. The device projected a holographic display showing the positions of all 16 alien ships, along with detailed schematics that made the commander's mandibles stop clicking entirely. "How did you obtain these?" the commander demanded. "We've been watching your fleet since it entered this system," Marcus said. It was a bluff, but a convincing one. "Did you really think we wouldn't notice 16 warships heading toward one of our stations?" The holographic display shifted, showing new information. Estimated crew complements, weapon capabilities, engine specifications, all of it accurate, all of it information that should have been impossible for humans to obtain, but Marcus had learned a lot from his interrogation of the alien scouts, and even more from studying the ships during their approach. 20 years of analyzing enemy capabilities had taught him how to make educated guesses look like solid intelligence. "Your weapons are impressive," he continued, gesturing at the display. "Plasma cannons, particle beam arrays, kinetic bombardment systems. Very advanced." The commander straightened, mandibles clicking with what might have been pride. "Indeed. No species has withstood our firepower." "But you rely too heavily on overwhelming force," Marcus said. "Your ships are powerful but slow. Your formations are predictable. And your command structure has a critical weakness." "What weakness?" Marcus smiled grimly. "You put all your senior officers on one ship, in the center of your formation, where they think they're safe." The implications hit the alien commander like a physical blow. Its large eyes darted around the command center, suddenly seeing the human boarding team in a very different light. "You could have killed us," the commander said slowly. "When you boarded this ship, you could have eliminated the entire fleet's command structure." "Yes, but you did not." "No." The commander was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Around the command center, the alien crew members had stopped working entirely. All of them focused on the conversation between their leader and the small human, who had somehow infiltrated their most secure ship. "Why?" the commander asked finally. "Because I wanted to give you a choice," Marcus replied. "You can continue this attack and probably destroy our station. You'll win this battle. But then you'll have to explain to your superiors why you lost 3 ships and most of your crew to a minor human settlement." The commander's mandibles twitched. 3 ships? Marcus activated another function on his communicator. The tactical display zoomed in on the alien fleet, highlighting specific vessels. "Your heavy cruiser dominant strike is about to experience a critical reactor failure. We placed charges during your approach, remote detonated, of course. The destroyer Swift Talon has already taken heavy damage from our modified patrol boats. And your command ship. He smiled. Well, you're standing on it. The alien commander looked around the command center with new understanding. You came here to destroy this ship, if necessary. But I'd prefer not to. What do you want? Marcus walked to one of the command consoles and began manipulating the controls. Surprisingly, the alien interface wasn't that different from human systems, different symbols, but similar logical structures. Within moments, he had brought up a star chart showing the local region. This is human space, he said, highlighting several star systems. These are the colonies you've been attacking. As of now, they're under our protection. Your protection? The commander's voice carried a note of disbelief. You have no fleet here, no military presence. How can you protect anything? Marcus turned to face the alien directly. Because we're humans, and humans don't need fleets to be dangerous. He activated his communicator one more time. This time, the display showed something that made every alien in the command center take a step back. It was a map of the hegemony fleet's approach route, but with new information overlaid on it. Human ships, dozens of them, converging on their position from multiple directions. Military vessels, civilian freighters that had been hastily armed, even private yachts that had been converted into improvised warships. How? The commander whispered. You made one critical mistake, Marcus explained. You assumed that because our settlements didn't have standing armies, they were defenseless. But humans don't work that way. When you attack one of us, you attack all of us. The display showed timestamps. The human ships had been moving for hours, coordinating their approach while the alien fleet focused on the station. They would arrive within the next 30 minutes. Your choice is simple, Marcus continued. You can fight a desperate battle against overwhelming odds, lose most of your fleet, and accomplish nothing. Or you can withdraw now, report back to your superiors that humans are more dangerous than they appear, and recommend finding easier prey elsewhere. The alien commander stared at the tactical display for a long moment. Then it began issuing orders in its native language. The crew around the command center responded immediately, their movements quick and efficient. You are withdrawing? Marcus asked. We are reassessing the situation, the commander replied carefully. This attack was based on incomplete intelligence. A more thorough analysis is required before proceeding. Marcus nodded. Good decision. But the commander wasn't finished. It turned to face Marcus directly, its large eyes reflecting the light from the command center displays. Before we leave, it said, I must ask you something. Our scouts spoke of human warriors called SEALs. They said these warriors were myths, legends told by conquered species to comfort themselves. What about them? Are you one of these legendary warriors? Marcus was quiet for a moment, thinking about the question. For 5 years, he'd tried to leave that part of his life behind. He'd wanted to be just a cargo inspector, just a normal person doing a normal job on a quiet space station, but some things couldn't be left behind. Some responsibilities never ended. I was, he said finally. Once. The alien commander's mandibles clicked rapidly. And there are others like you. More than you might think. And fewer than you might hope. The commander processed this information, then made what sounded like a decision. I will include this information in my report to the hegemony leadership. They should know that humans are not the easy prey we believe them to be. That would be wise. 20 minutes later, Marcus and his team were back aboard their shuttle, watching as the alien fleet began its withdrawal. The massive ships turned away from Kepler Station with the same coordinated precision they had shown during their approach. But there was something different about their movements now. They moved like predators who had suddenly realized they might be prey. Think they'll stay away? Williams asked as they docked with the station. Marcus watched the alien ships disappear into hyperspace. From here? Probably. But they'll be back somewhere else, eventually. That's what species like this do. And when they come back? When they come back, they'll know that humans fight back. They'll be more careful, more cautious. They might even look for easier targets. Williams frowned. That doesn't sound like much of a victory. It's not about victory, Marcus explained as they disembarked from the shuttle. It's about sending a message. Today, one human settlement stood against a superior force and made them think twice. Tomorrow, another settlement might do the same. And the day after that, another one? Commander Torres was waiting for them in the docking bay along with most of the station's population. The evacuation had been called off when the alien fleet withdrew, and people were slowly returning to their normal routines. Mr. Chun, Torres. Commander Torres poured 2 cups of coffee and slid one across his desk to Marcus. The office was quiet except for the gentle hum of the station's life, support systems, and the distant sounds of repair crews fixing the damage from the alien attack. Navy SEAL? Torres said. Not really a question. He'd been reading through Marcus's personnel file for the past hour, the real one that had just been transmitted from Earth Command. 20 years active duty. 3 Purple Hearts, 2 Silver Stars, and more classified commendations than I have security clearance to read. Marcus sipped his coffee. It was terrible, like most space station coffee, but he'd drunk worse in worse places. That was a long time ago. 5 years isn't that long. Torres leaned back in his chair. Operation Darkwater, Operation Silent Thunder, the Titan Station Rescue... He shook his head. You were part of the team that saved 300 civilians from that terrorist attack. Made the history books? Parts of it made the history books, Marcus corrected. The parts they could declassify. Torres's desk chirped. Commander, you need to see this, came Security Chief Williams's voice. We're getting long-range sensor readings. On my way. Torres stood up. Mr. Chung, I think you should come too. They made their way to the station's command center, where Williams was standing over a sensor technician's shoulder, both of them staring at a display that made Marcus's blood run cold. 16 ships, Williams reported. Big ones. They dropped out of hyperspace about 6 hours out and they're coming our way. Marcus studied the sensor display. The approaching ships were massive, each one easily 10 times the size of the scout vessels that had attacked the station. Military configuration, from what he could tell. This wasn't a trade delegation or a diplomatic mission. Any response to our communications? Torres asked. Nothing, the sensor tech replied. They're not answering hails, but we're picking up a lot of internal chatter on their frequencies. The translation software is having trouble with it, but it sounds like battle preparations. Marcus moved to another console and began pulling up tactical displays. Old reflexes kicked in as he analyzed the approaching fleet's formation, speed, and probable weapons capabilities. It wasn't good news. They're coming in battle formation, he said quietly. Classic hammer and anvil approach. 4 heavy ships in the center, lighter vessels forming a perimeter. They'll try to overwhelm our defenses while preventing any ships from escaping. Torres stared at him. How can you tell all that from a sensor reading? Because I've seen this formation before. Pirates used it at the Proxima raid. Worked pretty well until we showed them why it wasn't as clever as they thought. The commander turned to Williams. What are our defensive capabilities? Williams grimaced. 2 patrol boats, both lightly armed. The station has defensive turrets, but they're designed to handle pirates and small raiders, not a fleet this size. Evacuation? Already started, but it'll take at least 8 hours to get everyone off the station. And even then, those civilian transports are sitting ducks if the aliens decide to hunt them down. Marcus was quiet for a moment, studying the tactical display. Then he walked over to the communications console. Can you get me a secure line to Earth Command? He asked the officer. Sir, I don't have the authority to patch him through, Torres ordered. Use my authorization codes. The connection took several minutes to establish. When it finally came through, Marcus found himself looking at Admiral Sarah Chun, no relation. Despite the shared name, Commander of Earth Special Operations Division. Marcus, she said, and he could hear the surprise in her voice. I heard you were out there playing cargo inspector. Yes, ma'am. We have a situation. He gave her a quick briefing on the alien scouts and the approaching fleet. The Admiral listened without interrupting, her expression growing more serious with each detail. "Recommendations?" she asked when he finished. Marcus looked around the command center. Everyone was listening, even though half of them probably didn't have clearance for this kind of conversation. "We need time," he said. "The station can't hold against 16 ships, but if we can delay them, maybe inflict some casualties, it might change their approach to other human settlements. What do you need?" "A SEAL team would be nice." Admiral Chun smiled grimly. "Closest team is 4 days out. But I might have something else for you." She turned away from the screen for a moment, consulting with someone off camera. "There's a supply ship heading your way, ETA 3 hours. Captain Rodriguez owes me a favor." "What kind of supplies?" "The kind that goes boom." The connection ended, leaving the command center in silence. Finally, Torres spoke up. "Mr. Chun, what exactly are you planning?" Marcus was already moving toward the exit. "I need to talk to our prisoners." The alien detention cells were in the station's security section. Marcus found all 3 scouts conscious and alert, though they looked up with obvious wariness when he entered. The lead alien, the one who had spoken to him earlier, watched him approach with those large, multifaceted eyes. "Your fleet is coming," Marcus said without preamble. The alien's mandibles twitched. "You cannot stop them." "Maybe not, but I can hurt them." Marcus pulled up a chair and sat down, keeping his voice conversational. "Tell me about their tactics." "Ship configurations, weapon systems, command structure." "Why would I tell you this?" "Because your people made a mistake. You attacked a human station without knowing what you were getting into. Your fleet is making the same mistake, but bigger." The alien was quiet for a long moment. "You speak as though 16 warships are nothing to you." 16 ships is a lot," Marcus admitted. "But numbers aren't everything. Your scouts thought they had the advantage too." Another pause. Then the alien leaned forward slightly. "What will you do with this information?" Marcus met its gaze. "Save lives. Both human and alien if possible." The alien made a sound that Marcus was beginning to recognize as alien laughter, but not the mocking kind from earlier. This was different, darker. "You show mercy to enemies. You fight only to protect, not to conquer. Your reputation among the stars is well-deserved, Seal Marcus Chun." Over the next hour, Marcus learned more about the alien fleet than he'd ever wanted to know. The species called themselves the Hegemony, a confederation of worlds that expanded through conquest and intimidation. They'd been moving through this region of space for months, attacking isolated settlements and claiming territory, but they'd never encountered serious resistance. Most species either surrendered immediately or put up token fights before being overwhelmed. The hegemony had grown confident, perhaps overconfident. Their ships were heavily armed but not heavily armored. They relied on overwhelming firepower and the psychological impact of their massive fleet to end conflicts quickly. Extended battles weren't their strength. Most importantly, their command ship was easily identifiable, larger than the others, positioned in the center of the formation, and packed with the fleet's senior officers. When the supply ship arrived 3 hours later, Marcus was waiting at the docking bay. Captain Rodriguez was exactly what Marcus had expected, a grizzled veteran with the kind of expression that came from hauling questionable cargo to questionable places for questionable people. "Admiral, Chun said you needed party supplies," Rodriguez said. Gesturing to several large containers being unloaded from his ship, Marcus opened the first container and smiled. Military-grade explosives, detonators, and enough weapons to outfit a small army. Not quite what he'd requested, but it would do. "This might work," he said. "Might?" "Will," Marcus corrected. "This will work." The plan came together over the next few hours. It was insane, desperate, and had about a dozen ways it could go catastrophically wrong. In other words, it was exactly the kind of plan that SEAL teams specialized in. The station's 2 patrol boats would be loaded with explosives and set on automated courses toward the alien fleet. Not to ram them, that would be too obvious, but to serve as distractions while Marcus and a small team of volunteers took a more direct approach. You want to board their command ship? Torres said, staring at the tactical display Marcus had set up. In the middle of a space battle. It's been done before, Marcus replied. Not by me personally, but the principles are the same. This is suicide. No, this is misdirection. They'll be so focused on the patrol boats and the station's defenses that they won't notice one small ship slipping through their perimeter. William stepped forward. I'm coming with you. Marcus shook his head. This isn't your kind of mission. Maybe not? But it's my station they're attacking? The security chief's voice was firm. I've got 6 volunteers from my team. Good people, all of them. Marcus looked around the room. These weren't SEALs. They weren't Special Forces soldiers or covert operators. They were security guards and technicians and cargo handlers who'd signed up for a quiet job on a remote station, but they were also humans. And humans, Marcus had learned over 20 years of combat, had a tendency to surprise everyone when their backs were against the wall. All right, he said finally. But we do this my way. No heroes, no unnecessary risks. We get in, we complete the mission, and we get out. The alien fleet arrived exactly when the sensors had predicted. Marcus watched from the pilot's seat of a modified maintenance shuttle as 16 massive ships dropped out of hyperspace and began their approach. Marcus Chun had always preferred the quiet corners of space stations. As a cargo inspector for the Galactic Trade Commission, he spent most of his days checking manifests and scanning freight containers. It was honest work, boring work, and exactly what he needed after 20 years of a very different kind of life. The Kepler station orbited a small mining world on the edge of human space. Most of the traffic here was automated freighters and the occasional passenger shuttle. Marcus liked it that way. No complications, no emergencies, just routine inspections and paperwork. He was finishing up his shift when the alarm started blaring. All personnel, report to emergency stations. Came the announcement over the station's comm system. This is not a drill. Unknown vessels approaching. Marcus looked up from his datapad, frowning. Unknown vessels were rare out here. The shipping lanes were well established, and most captains filed their flight plans days in advance. He made his way to the nearest observation deck to get a look at whatever was causing the fuss. Through the reinforced viewport, he could see 3 ships approaching the station. They were unlike anything in the standard registry, sleek, angular vessels with a metallic blue-green hull that seemed to shift and ripple in the starlight. As they drew closer, Marcus could make out strange symbols carved into their sides and weapon ports that didn't match any human or allied design. First contact protocol is now in effect, the announcement continued. All civilians remain calm and await further instructions. First contact. Marcus felt his pulse quicken slightly, but not from excitement or fear. It was the same controlled alertness he'd felt countless times before, in places far more dangerous than a space station. Old habits died hard. The alien ships docked with the station's central hub. Through the viewport, Marcus watched as the airlock cycled and figures began emerging. The aliens were tall and thin, with elongated limbs and heads that reminded him of praying mantises. They wore what looked like environmental suits, but their movements were too fluid. Too precise for the bulky gear humans needed in space. Station security met them at the airlock. Marcus could see the nervous gestures of the human guards, their hands hovering near their sidearms. The aliens seemed to notice this too. Their heads turned in that unnaturally smooth way. Focusing on each guard in turn. Then everything went wrong. One of the aliens raised what looked like a ceremonial staff. But Marcus caught the telltale shimmer of an energy field around its tip. He was already moving when the weapon discharged, sending one of the guards flying across the corridor. Hostile contact! Someone screamed over the comm. All security to level 7. But Marcus was closer than security. Much closer. The aliens were advancing through the corridor now, their weapons cutting down anyone who stood in their way. Station personnel scattered, screaming and running for emergency shelters. Marcus moved against the flow of panicked civilians. His steps careful and measured. The lead alien rounded the corner ahead of him, weapon raised and scanning for targets. It spotted Marcus immediately, a lone human, walking calmly toward them while everyone else fled in terror. The alien's mandibles clicked together in what might have been amusement. It said something in a language that sounded like grinding metal and broken glass. The other aliens responded with similar sounds that Marcus assumed was laughter. The weapon swung toward him. Marcus had served in 17 combat zones across 4 star systems. He'd led boarding actions against pirate vessels, executed rescue operations in hostile territory, and participated in classified missions that would remain buried in government archives for the next century. But officially, he was just a cargo inspector named Marcus. Chun, the alien fired. Marcus wasn't there anymore. He'd moved at the last second, dropping and rolling to the side as the energy blast scorched the wall where he'd been standing. The alien's mandibles stopped clicking. Their weapons swiveled, trying to track him. Marcus came up behind a support strut, his mind automatically cataloging everything he could see. 3 hostiles, unknown weapons capability, superior reach and mobility. Standard corridor, limited cover, civilian evacuation route behind him. Multiple tactical options. He picked the simplest one. The first alien never saw him coming. Marcus emerged from cover in a low sprint, closing the distance before the creature could bring its weapon to bear. His shoulder hit the alien center mass, driving it back against the bulkhead with enough force to crack the reinforced polymer. The weapon clattered to the floor. The other 2 aliens reacted faster than he'd expected. The second one swung its staff like a club, aiming for Marcus's head. He ducked under the swing and grabbed the weapon, using the alien's own momentum to let off balance. A quick twist, and the creature found itself on the ground with its own weapon pressed against its throat. The third alien was already raising its staff when Marcus threw the captured weapon like a spear. The improvised projectile struck the creature's arm, sending it shot wide. Sparks flew from damaged wall panels as the energy blast went wild. Marcus was moving before the sparks stopped flying. He tackled the third alien, both of them crashing to the deck in a tangle of limbs. The creature was strong, stronger than a human, but Marcus had fought stronger opponents before. He knew where to hit, how to leverage his weight, how to turn the alien's own strength against it, within seconds. All 3 aliens were down. Station security arrived to find Marcus sitting calmly on a storage crate, watching his prisoners. The aliens were conscious but restrained with strips torn from their own environmental suits. They kept making those grinding, clicking sounds, but quieter now. Almost whispered, "How the hell did you do that?" asked Security Chief Williams, staring at the scene in disbelief. "These things just cut through a squad of my best people." Marcus shrugged. "Lucky, I guess." But the aliens were looking at him differently now. Their large, multifaceted eyes tracked his every movement. They'd stopped making those clicking sounds entirely, and Marcus could have sworn he detected something new in their posture. Something that looked almost like respect or fear. The station's medical team arrived to treat the aliens' injuries. Nothing serious. Marcus had been careful about that. As they worked, one of the creatures kept staring at him. Finally, it spoke in heavily accented but understandable English. "What are you?" The alien asked. Marcus met its gaze. "Just a cargo inspector." The alien's mandibles twitched. "No, you move like a warrior. You fight like a hunter. But you show mercy like—" It struggled with the words. "Like something we have no name for." "Maybe you should learn one," Marcus said quietly. The creature was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke again, and this time its voice carried a different tone entirely. "What is your military designation?" Marcus felt the familiar weight of old secrets, old loyalties. He could deflect the question, change the subject, maintain his cover like he'd been doing for the past 5 years. But something in the alien's voice told him that wouldn't work anymore. "Former Navy SEAL," he said finally. "Retired." The alien's eyes went wide. It said something in its own language, a rapid string of clicks and grinding sounds. The other 2 aliens turned to stare at Marcus with what he was beginning to recognize as shock. "You know what that means?" Marcus asked. The first alien nodded slowly. "We know of your SEALs. Your reputation." Travels far. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Our reputation? The silent warriors. The ones who strike from shadow and vanish like smoke. The humans who turn impossible missions into legends. The alien's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. We thought they were myths. Security Chief Williams was looking back and forth between Marcus and the aliens, clearly lost. What are you people talking about? The alien answered before Marcus could speak. Your species produces warriors unlike any we have encountered. But they are rare, and their existence is doubted among many of our kind. To find one here working in such a mundane role. It trailed off, then looked directly at Marcus. Why do you hide? Marcus was quiet for a moment, thinking about the question. Why did he hide? After 20 years of classified operations, black sites, and missions that officially never happened, the answer should have been simple. But sitting here, looking at these aliens who somehow knew about seals, despite being from a completely unknown species, the simple answer didn't feel right anymore. I wanted a quiet life, he said finally. The alien made a sound that might have been understanding. Peace after war. Yes, we comprehend this desire. But you cannot hide what you are forever? Before Marcus could ask what that meant, the station's commanding officer arrived with a full security detail. Commander Torres looked around at the scene, 3 subdued aliens, his cargo inspector sitting calmly nearby, and his security chief looking like he'd seen a ghost. Mr. Chun, Torres said slowly, I think we need to have a conversation. Marcus nodded. He'd known this moment would come eventually. In 20 years of active duty, he'd learned that secrets had a way of surfacing at the worst possible times. Usually when people were shooting at you. Yes, sir, he said. I believe we do. As security led the aliens away, the first creature turned back to look at Marcus one more time. This encounter will be reported to our fleet, it said. Others will come. They will not believe what we tell them about humans. They will think we are weak, defeated by inferior beings.